Personally, I enjoy lamb any time of the year. But in the springtime, particularly around the time of Easter and Passover, lamb enjoys increasing popularity. So in honor of our Passover meal, today we're going to make a roast leg of lamb with rosemary and garlic and an apple walnut charosette. Come on, let's go get into the kitchen. So the cooking time on this lamb takes about 2 hours. But the recipe itself is super simple to make, and it only contains 6 ingredients. 1 semi-boneless leg of lamb, 4 garlic cloves, 1 tablespoon of sea salt, 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh rosemary, a half a teaspoon of black pepper, and a 1/4 cup of dry red wine or beef broth. So the first thing you want to do is make some incisions into the lamb. This is going to allow that garlic and rosemary and salt and pepper paste to seep down into the lamb and infuse the inside with flavor. So we're just going to turn it that way. And I know the recipe calls for a semi-boneless. The lamb I'm working with now is completely boneless, which is okay. It's just going to take a little less time to cook, which is actually a good thing. And this lamb that I'm working with is actually 5 pounds. I think the recipe calls for 7 pounds. The great thing about this recipe is you can adjust it to fit your needs. So if you don't need 7 pounds, a 5 pound will do. You just have to remember that the cooking time will be less. All right, turn it over a little bit. And you can just go in between the netting, and there you go. So next we're going to cut our garlic. Gonna give it a rough chop to start off with. Then we're gonna add approximately 1 tablespoon of salt. We're gonna sprinkle it on top of the garlic. Gonna give it another chop. What we want is a paste. And if you have a mortar and pestle, you can do that. Otherwise, you can do it this way. And once you get it chopped sort of finely, then what you want to do is gather it all together and then take the back of your knife and grind the garlic and the salt together. And the salt is going to act as an abrasive on the garlic, turning it into a paste consistency. Chop it up a little bit finer. Now, if this is all too much for you and you're like, Robin, I really don't have time to chop all of this, let me show you a little trick. Garlic paste works quite well. Works even better if you take the paper off of it. Squeeze it in and add your salt. Remember, you're going to do about a tablespoon, and that's that. So we'll put that off to the side. Next, we're going to chop up the rosemary. Rosemary is kind of a woody herb, so you'll have to be aggressive with this. Doesn't have to be super fine. A love that smell. Rosemary and garlic are some of the classic flavors that you see used with lamb. Mustard is another one of them. We're going to add the rosemary to the garlic and salt paste. All right, next we're going to add a half a teaspoon of black pepper, and we're going to stir it all together. And the black pepper's in here with the rosemary and the garlic and the salt. Work it into a paste. And now we're going to take that paste and smear it all over our lamb. No need to remove the netting. Smear it all over, and remember we made those incisions into the lamb, so this flavor is going to get all into the meat, which is exactly what we want. Pick it up and make sure you get all the sides. A little bit more. It smells wonderful already. And after we get this smeared all over, we're gonna add this lamb to this roasting pan that is right in front of it. And the roasting pan has been lightly oiled, which is gonna keep it from sticking. And there's a little bit of fat on the lamb, and that fat is not only gonna baste the meat as it cooks, but it's also gonna roll down the sides and keep it from sticking to the pan. And we're gonna transfer this to the roasting pan, and you wanna get a roasting pan that fits the lamb. So you don't want one that is too big or too small. So this is the perfect size. And then we're gonna let this sit in the pan for approximately 30 minutes, allowing the lamb to warm up a little bit, because you never wanna add cold meat to a warm oven. So we've waited our 30 minutes and we're ready to put the lamb into the oven. You want to take a meat thermometer and stick it into the thickest part of the lamb. Then you want to put the lamb in the center of the oven. And remember, I said that this cooking time is going to take about 2 hours. You're going to keep the lamb in the oven until the temperature reaches 130 degrees. Then you're going to remove the lamb and let it rest for anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes. Meanwhile, the temperature will continue to climb to 140 degrees, which is going to give you that medium rare temperature that we're after. Next, we're going to make an apple walnut charoset. And if you thought the lamb recipe was easy, this one you're going to be able to make with your eyes closed. Let's go over the recipe. All right, this recipe uses 3 apples. I've used a combination of Granny Smith and Gala, and I'm gonna peel them and chop them and core them. And I know I said that this was an apple walnut charoset, but I always like a mixture of pecans and walnuts. So we need 1.5 cups, and I've used an equal part of pecans and walnuts, and I've lightly toasted both of them. I have a 1/2 cup of sweet red wine. I have 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon and 1 tablespoon of light brown sugar. All right, I've taken our 3 apples and I've peeled them, cored them, and diced them up. Put them in a bowl, and I'm going to take our nuts that we have lightly toasted, and I'm going to give them a rough chop. Don't want to pulverize them, but you want them to be roughly the same size as the apples. those to our bowl. Next, we're going to add the cinnamon, the brown sugar, and our wine. Give it a stir. And in some charoset recipes, the consistency is a little finer, almost like a paste, or it kind of reminds me of baby food. Some of the charoset recipes I've seen, supposedly charoset is supposed to remind you of the mortar that the Israelites used between the bricks when they were in Egypt. And then at some Passover dinners, you'll see some folks take the charoset and put it between two matzah crackers and eat it like that. I don't like a mushy texture, so this is a little chunkier than some recipes. And that's it. We put it in the bowl, and this will keep for 2 days covered. So it's something that you can make in advance. It's been 15 to 20 minutes, and it's now at 140 degrees. Time to remove the netting and cut into it. We've removed the leg of lamb from the oven, and while it's resting, it's time to deglaze the pan. This is where we'll pour our 1/4 cup of wine into the roasting pan and put it back into the oven. A pair of scissors, gently cut through. I wish you could smell the kitchen. It smells awesome. All that rosemary and garlic. That wonderful crust on here. We'll just lift the roast up and pull the netting off. Throw that to the side. The hands a little. And slice a few pieces. That is gorgeous. We'll put it on the serving dish. Like that. Get that out of the way. Before you take it to the table, maybe take some of your leftover rosemary and garnish the serving dish. Here is after we deglazed the pan with our 1/4 cup of red wine, we basically ended up with an au jus that we will take and pour over the top of our lamb. Grab a piece out of here. There. A little bit of au jus over the top. We've got our charoset that we made. Smells lovely with that cinnamon. And there you have it. Roast leg of lamb with garlic and rosemary and apple, walnut, and pecan charoset. A blessed Passover to you all.